Welcome to the 10th annual 3-minute paper competition in NOGEM First People's Performance Space. My name is Erin Stewart-Eves. I'm an academic skills instructor and one of the organizers of this event, and I have been for the last 10 years. I love it. I'm also tonight's host, and I really appreciate you joining us this evening. I would first like to respectfully acknowledge that we are in the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. I am grateful to live, work, and play as a settler on these lands called Nagogjunwang or Peterborough. I offer my gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings by continuing to listen with open hearts and acting with humility. We're gathered tonight in the Nwang building, a place that takes its meaning from the Anishinaabe, the way we come to speak together. And I am grateful that we can come together tonight to share ideas and stories in NOGEM Theatre in the First People's House of Learning. I now ask you to join me in welcoming Dr. Michael Kahn, Trent University's Provost and Vice President Academic, to the podium for introductory remarks.
Thank you, Erin, and good evening, everyone. It's certainly a pleasure to be with you here tonight and to welcome you to 3MP. I guess it's probably only fitting that I keep my remarks to 3 minutes as we get going here tonight. So start the clock. Let me begin by saying congratulations to all our students and their supervisors for the tremendous work you have done. I have attended this event every year since I've been at Trent, sometimes as a judge. And judges, my thoughts are with you tonight. You're going to see some amazing presentations, and it's your job to actually decipher between them. So later on tonight, I will be feeling your pain as you're trying to see who are our winners. But again, it's been a fantastic evening. It will be a fantastic evening, and I look forward to the presentations. At Trent, we value a research-driven education, one in which students are taught by professors who are actually advancing knowledge in their areas. But at the same time, our students are playing a critical role in actually driving research through exploration and discovery. In doing so, you are thinking beyond, making a difference by addressing not only complex problems in today's world, but finding solutions for tomorrow, in a world that we perhaps do not know much about yet. I can assure you that you will cherish this experience for years to come. Whether it be 10, 20, 30 years, this will be a memorable event for you. You will probably remember tonight more than anything else you were taught in any of your other courses. Don't share that with your professors, please. You have learned how to think critically and problem solve. You have developed organization skills, analytical skills, teamwork, and communication skills, all of which will serve you regardless of what career you pursue. So again, congratulations to all of you. Although tonight is a competition, it's your time to celebrate. So enjoy every second of your 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Tonight, we will hear from 19 student researchers, and their work is going to amaze you. I want to extend my appreciation and the whole team's appreciation for your support of this event and of your students. We appreciate the in-person audience. We also appreciate you folks watching on the live stream at trentu.ca/3mp. For those of you who are not presenting tonight, you may wonder, what is a 3-minute paper? The 3-minute paper competition, it's inspired by an international graduate level competition called 3 Minute Thesis. That was developed in the University of Queensland in Australia in 2008. 3 Minute Thesis continues to be really popular, and grad students at universities all over the globe rise to the challenge to distill their years of research into a brief 3-minute talk that is both accessible and engaging for a general audience. On April 18th, Trent will host its own annual 3MT at Market Hall. I invite you to check that out. It's always amazing. At Trent, we know that grad students aren't the only developing scholars on campus. So we created 3MP to provide undergraduates the chance to share their work and refine their presentation skills and feel that pressure and excitement of explaining the relevance of specialized concepts to a generalized audience. Tonight marks our 10th annual, and over the years, we've seen 3MP champs on the 3MT Trent stage and at the provincial competition. In fact, tonight we're joined by Samiko Polacco, who competed at both 3MP and 3MT. In 2018, she represented Trent at the provincial 3MT competition. She's currently a course instructor and teaching support in the forensics program, and she's generously offered her time this year to support several of tonight's participants in practice sessions last week. So we're really excited. Look where you can go. It's pretty amazing. Upper year undergraduates at Trent have really great opportunities to conduct research in honors theses, community research projects, major papers as part of their course requirements. Tonight, these students have accepted the challenge to present their research that represents months of lab work, field study, data analysis, and deep critical reading and thinking. And they have to do it in only 3 minutes. They're evidence of critical thinking and communication skills that are required to make highly specialized research meaningful to folks like us. We're a non-specialized audience. These are the same skills that employers are demanding of new graduates, so it's so relevant. Presenters must explain foundational concepts, avoid highly specialized terminology, and create a meaningful storyline about their research and its value. This event really, I think, reflects Trent's belief that through effective storytelling and connection, researchers can share new and important ideas that foster collaboration and affect momentous change. Tonight's presenters are enthusiastic about their research. You just ask them and they will talk about it for sure. They don't really need a lot of incentive. They're working to represent their college and campus community and their academic departments too, and their labs and their colleagues. But it's not just about departmental or college pride. We've got prizes that add to the excitement, and they've been generously donated. So we have the Audience Choice Prize. You folks get to participate in this by voting for your favorite talk. That's been sponsored by the President's Office. The President's Office has also donated monies for the Best Visual Aids. And Trent Journal of Undergraduate Studies has sponsored an award for the Social Justice Prize. That's for a top scoring presentation that does not work into the top 3, that is focused on social justice. Then we've got our second runner-up, sponsored by the Center of Teaching and Learning, our Alumni Services and Engagement first runner-up prize, and the big prize, the overall prize, sponsored by the Office of Research and Innovation. So some fantastic prizes here available. In addition, those top 3 scoring presentations will have their work published in an upcoming edition of the Journal of Undergraduate Studies, which we really appreciate. So this is a competition. We've got some rules. We've got to lay it down, okay? First of all, the obvious one. We have a time limit. We've got to hold to it. No extensions here at all, okay, folks? So any competitor that exceeds that time limit will be disqualified. We've got 2 folks working the clock tonight to ensure that we're holding true to that. Presentations have to be spoken word. So no singing, no poetry, no rapping, I'm sorry. You must stick to the stage. We cannot break the 4th wall going into the audience at all. For this competition, you can use 3 slides. Slides have to be static. There can be no fancy stuff happening on them at all. And there's no additional props or anything allowed. You may also use cue cards or notes if you wish. And the decisions of these folks, it's final, okay? I'd like to introduce our esteemed judging panel for this evening. We're very excited to invite Dr. Catherine Norlock, the Associate Dean of Humanities and Social Sciences, and Kenneth Mark Drain Endowed Chair in Ethics. That's a mouthful. We've got Dr. Emily Morehouse, new to Trent, coordinator of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Education and Support Initiatives, also quite a mouthful. Dr. Sarah West, you're keeping it easy on me here, Associate Dean of Sciences. What a wonderful panel. Let's give them a round of applause. We're so happy to have them. Yes, participants, you should be wooing them. Let's get them in a good frame of mind right now, right? They've got a difficult task. They have to judge each of these talks based on these 4 equally weighted criteria. The first is language and communication. Was the research and its significance communicated in language appropriate to an intelligent but non-specialist audience? You folks look pretty intelligent, but we're maybe not all specialists. So we want to make sure we can understand it. Knowledge and understanding. Did the presentation help the audience understand the complexity of the research? Engagement. Did the presentation make you want to know more? Visual aids. Are the PowerPoint slides visually interesting illustrations of key ideas? Do they complement what the presentation is covering? These are the criteria I also ask you to consider when you are taking your time to vote for the Audience Choice Prize this evening. There's going to be time at the end of the presentations to vote. I will now ask you to silence your phones for the duration of the event. I'll also ask that if you need to exit for any reason, please wait until the end of a presentation and leave your seat between speakers so there's less distraction for our fantastic presenters today. And now that we've attended to all the details, we're ready to begin the main event. Right. Our first speaker is Beck Bugeya with Crayfish Concerns, Potential Impacts of Exotic Crayfish on Endangered Salamanders.
When was the last time you were wrong? Wasn't it great? You're probably thinking, no. But we need to know when we're wrong to know when we're right, especially when we're working with endangered species. Canada's only smallmouth salamanders live on Pelee Island. If we lose them there, we're not getting them back. That's why we're worried about the white river crayfish, a recently discovered exotic species from America. There are a few ways that you might think these crayfish could affect Pelee Island salamanders. First, maybe they're eating the salamanders. If this is happening, we'll find fewer salamanders in ponds with white river crayfish. The second way is if the crayfish impact salamander behavior. If you saw a big scary predator, you would hide, not go out for lunch. But if hiding gets in the way of eating enough, the salamanders won't grow. So we'd find smaller salamanders. To find out if this was actually happening, we went to Pelee Island to measure the number and size of salamanders. Then did a bunch of magic that some people call statistics to compare the ponds with and without white river crayfish. You want to know the most exciting part of this whole presentation? This is not what we found at all. We found that ponds with white river crayfish actually had more salamanders in them. This could be because the salamanders and crayfish have similar habitat needs, and not that crayfish are generating more salamanders. We also didn't find that salamander body size was influenced at all by crayfish, but we did find that salamanders were smaller in more crowded ponds. This makes sense because there's more competition for resources, and other studies have found the same thing. Essentially, it's good to be wrong. I'm glad that the salamanders aren't being harmed in these ways. But more than that, we have to be objective in science so that we can understand how exotic species are truly impacting our native ecosystems. As Isaac Asimov said, the most exciting sentence in science isn't Eureka, but that's funny. I'm excited to see how this That's Funny takes us as we continue investigating. Thank you.
Thanks so much for starting us off, Beck. That's never easy to be the first one, so we always appreciate those folks. And I thought you brought some great humor to your conversation and to your research. So thank you. Amazing work, fascinating project. Thank you for sharing. Our next speaker is Nadra Mousse with Demystifying Virginity, Exploring Sexual Agency and Pleasure.
Thank you. Actually, go up here. Oh, perfect. Well, actually, what do you remember about the time when you lost your virginity? Was it better than you expected? Was it worse than you anticipated? Was it exactly what you were expecting? Well, that's been the core of my research for the last 8 months. I've been focusing on 2 specific sexual behaviors: sexual assertiveness, the level to which we say our sexual wants, needs, and desires, and sexual satisfaction, the actual pleasure we receive as a result, and how they actually interact and play out during the virginity loss experience. And I think this is especially beneficial just because virginity loss experiences happen to almost all of us, and it is an extremely important milestone as it sets the stage for our future sexual behaviors with others and our sexual interactions, as well as our own identity. So how do I do this? I do this by studying sexual script theory, which is rooted in the idea that we develop an understanding of our surroundings by engaging in socialization and interactions with others. And they emerge culturally, interpersonally, but I want to focus on the intrapsychic aspect because that's where virginity beliefs extend. Essentially, virginity beliefs is a cognitive framework of how we expect and anticipate our virginity loss experience to go. And they emerge in 3 ways. There's the gift belief, which is typically upheld by women as they view their virginity as something highly valuable, and they're selective finding a partner because they require elements of love and romance. There's the stigma belief, which is typically upheld by men as they view their virginity as something shameful, and they look for the opportunity to be rid of that label. And those with gift beliefs have higher relations with satisfaction and planning, and those with stigma have lower relations with satisfaction and planning. There's the process belief, which is actually the most common adopted belief, but it doesn't actually have a specific notion. It just accepts the fact that virginity is a natural stage in development. So moving on, my thesis project is a secondary analysis of data that has already been gathered previously. And in that, they measured multiple variables within a survey, but I specifically focused on the virginity beliefs aspect, sexual assertiveness, and sexual satisfaction. And I try to answer 3 questions. Does an increase in sexual assertiveness increase in individual sexual satisfaction? Does virginity beliefs actually change the relationship between assertiveness and satisfaction? And does the specific beliefs, stigma and gift, because they're gendered in nature, then influence the relationship between assertiveness and satisfaction? What I anticipate to find is that those with gift beliefs will have the strongest relationship with assertiveness and satisfaction, and those with stigma beliefs will have the weakest relationship with assertiveness and satisfaction. And that women with gift beliefs will have more assertiveness and satisfaction than men with the same beliefs. And given that, I think this is extremely beneficial because it can provide insight towards sexual education practices, because it highlights the fact that sexual assertiveness needs to be taught in concordance with consent education as well, as it fosters more sexual development. Now I'll ask again, do you remember your virginity experience? Were you sexually assertive? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nadra. You made me nervous there. You were getting there. You covered a lot, though, I think. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much. You can see the amount of work and that it takes to try to figure out how to bring it all down into a 3-minute time frame. So fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. Our next speaker is Ariana Duksharen, Listening to Children, How to Build a Child and Youth Advocacy Center.
According to the Government of Canada, over 10,000 children and youth under the age of 18 were served by child and youth advocacy centers across Canada within the last year. These survivors have experienced a wide range of violence and neglect. This should lead us to think, how can we as a society respond? A Child and Youth Advocacy Center, or CYAC, consists of a multidisciplinary team that brings together law enforcement, social services, medical and mental health professionals all under one roof to support children, youth, and their families. It is important that CYACs are tailored to the specific community that it will serve. But how can we, as service providers, know that we are meeting the needs of our community? In the past, we relied on answers from scholars, practitioners, adults, but who should we be listening to? The children, the real experts in this field. I have been working with the developing committee to answer the question, what do children and youth in Durham Region who are affected by violence and abuse need from a child and youth advocacy center? We have taken the unique approach of including the community in the development of their CYAC, specifically children and youth themselves, because they are the experts in their own lived experiences. According to Article 12 of the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of the Child, children have every right to participate, and their opinion should be considered when designing services for them. As a part of my field placement, I have been involved in conducting focus groups with youth in the community to gather information. Research has shown an overrepresentation of Black youth within the child welfare and justice system, so we took the extra step of holding specific focus groups to hear their unique needs. Preliminary data has provided us with some emerging themes. First, suggestions of services and programs that youth have used elsewhere will allow us to work with previous practices and build upon them. Next, youth emphasized the need for anti-oppressive practices. Many spoke about the importance of being culturally competent and relevant to ensure that cultural aspects are embedded within care so that marginalized communities are not subjected to ongoing colonial practices. Finally, the physical space must be child-friendly and designed to make everyone feel safe within the building. While the developing Durham CYAC is using youth voice to address the immediate and long-term needs, as well as provide preventative services for children and youth in Durham Region, it is not open yet. However, this is about to change. I'm very excited to share that we are striving to empower many more survivors and to open the Durham Child and Youth Advocacy Center by the end of 2024. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ariana. That's such an amazing peek into the community-based research that can happen for undergraduate students at Trent. What a fantastic experience that you have that you can move forward with. So really appreciate you sharing your story and your research with us today. Thank you. Our next speaker is Hazel McMillan with the talk, Chasing Dinner Upwards, How Arctic Warming is Changing the Diet of Modern Alaskan Seals.
Since the Industrial Revolution, Arctic warming has been changing how organisms interact with their environment and each other. In recent decades, ringed seals from northwestern Alaska have been changing where and what they're eating as their environment warms. But to truly appreciate that change, we need context. We need to look at a bigger picture. I sought to answer the question, how have long-term Alaskan ringed seal diets changed with modern Arctic warming? To do this, I had to simultaneously zoom in with stable isotopes and zoom out with the archaeological record. I've drawn this and other diagrams to help explain concepts along the way. First, zooming in with stable isotopes. These are versions of the same chemical element with different masses that enable them to be used as ecological tracers. Like all animals, a ringed seal is made up of the food it eats, which has characteristic isotopic compositions depending where it's from. Because food from the benthic environment has a higher abundance of carbon-13 than food from the pelagic, and this is reflected in the seal's tissues, I was able to determine the relative contributions of these two environments to their diet. Second, zooming out with the archaeological record. This provides a unique opportunity to access samples from ancient seals that lived prior to the Industrial Revolution. I analyzed bone samples from 3 Thule houses from an archaeological site on Cape Espenberg, Alaska, dated to approximately the years shown behind me. Together with modern tissues, I had almost 1,000 years of ringed seal samples through which I could investigate long-term diet. So I found that modern ringed seals had significantly lower stable carbon compositions than ancient seals, whose diets were actually remarkably stable right up until about the Industrial Revolution. Now, this makes sense if you think about temperatures in sea ice. Cold temperatures foster lots of ice with lots of algae that supports the benthic environment. However, warm temperatures lead to less ice, less algae, and less benthic food resources. So my findings show that modern ringed seals are continually chasing their food higher up into the pelagic environment as the Arctic warms to compensate for fewer benthic food resources, drastically shifting away from a 700-year pre-industrial revolution baseline. That is a major change. But what I really want for you to take from my research is the importance of examining ecological changes from a long-term perspective. With human activities so drastically altering the world, it's key that we examine ecosystems that existed prior to the Industrial Revolution and modern Arctic warming. We need to look far enough backwards to see the bigger picture before humans painted over it with fossil fuels, combustion engines, and globalization. We need real context to evaluate the significance of current changes, and my project on long-term Alaskan ringed seal diets emphasizes exactly that. Thank you.
Four talks in, and we're already really getting a sense of the breadth of work that students do here. It's just amazing. And I didn't know we could learn that much from some seal bones, I have to say. It's pretty interesting. Thank you. Our next speaker is Lance Dostie with supercharged carbon dioxide removal to mitigate climate change.
We have a problem. And I'm not talking about the overpriced food at all the dining cabs. We need energy, we need food, and we need housing, and we're pumping carbon dioxide gas into the air. This carbon dioxide gas is staying in the air for almost 1,000 years. And it's trapping heat, leading to more intense and frequent weather events, such as hurricanes, wildfires, and droughts. But our real problem is that we've actually lost hope. But the solution, we need to realize that we need to be honest with ourselves. We're going to keep flying. We're going to keep producing energy, and we just can't stop all carbon emissions today. And so we need to find a solution that can get us out of here. And nature, we can find inspiration. Nature already captures carbon dioxide through photosynthesis. Plants are charged up with sunlight to capture carbon dioxide from the air and give us oxygen so we can breathe. And if we have carbon dioxide in the air and we take it out, that warming is gone. And so what if we can find a way to work together with nature and find an even better way to capture carbon dioxide directly from the air? And that's what this thesis really focuses on. Can we make a better way of capturing carbon dioxide from the air? And so what we did is we took abundant materials found in nature and we mixed them together and baked it into a powder. We tried all different recipes to find low cost, scalable, but also maybe the most effective way to capture carbon dioxide. And so we took a white powder, and just like the sun, we charged it up, but this time with electricity. And what it gives us is this yellow powder. And so this yellow powder acts just like a sponge. It soaks up or captures carbon dioxide from the air. And so when we made this, we wanted to put it outside and see what really happened. And so we put it outside, and immediately carbon dioxide was being drawn down faster than we've ever seen before, faster than any nature-based solution, and several times faster than trees. And so what that tells us is that we can be inspired by nature and find solutions that are cost-effective, scalable, and work together with nature. We have a real opportunity here. And now, what's important is that we do have a solution. And we are some of the most intelligent and compassionate people. And if we just find the hope within each other, we'll innovate and make the world a better place. Thank you. Thank you very much.
When thinking of physical activity, most people tend to think of ongoing active exercise, which is also self-driven exercise, like going on a run or going weightlifting at the gym. However, exercise is way broader than that. Passive exercise is another form of physical activity that is assisted, so either with a physical therapist or a machine. Looking at research, active exercise is well studied. However, when it comes to passive exercise, it still remains under research. This is why my goal for my thesis is to look at the impact of continuous passive exercise in university students' range of motion and their balance. The goal of my thesis is to bring about a new way of thinking when looking at passive exercise that could be more manageable and less time-consuming for students' busy schedules. So for my study, I have selected 12 participants to be either assigned to a control group or an experimental group. Both groups will undergo a pre and post training session that will firstly analyze their body composition measures like height and weight, and students will also be asked to perform various different fitness tests that will look at aerobic endurance, balance, flexibility, and lower body strength. When that is completed, individuals in the experimental group will go through training sessions starting the week after, 3 times a week for 4 weeks, and each exercise sessions will last between 10 to 15 minutes. Throughout their exercise sessions, their cardiovascular measures like heart rate and blood pressure will be monitored continuously. The machine that they will be working on is called an X and Flex machine, which is a type of cycling bike. Individuals in the control group will not be participating in the exercise sessions. However, they will still be coming in for pre and post training sessions. When all the data is collected and completed, we will be comparing both groups, and we'll be looking if there are any changes in the participants' overall health, looking at their range of motion and their balance more precisely. So the importance of my study is to showcase all the benefits and to showcase all the advantages of ongoing passive exercise, primarily looking at university students. If there are any enhancements to their lower body strength, their mobility, their endurance, their range of motion, and their balance, this could suggest a new perspective in establishing a new passive exercise regimen that could be beneficial primarily for students. To add with my results, further research can be put on looking at their overall health, their academic success, and their stress levels as well. And so you don't have to grab your running shoes every time you want to get active, but just having the willingness to better your overall health. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kayla. I don't know about you. That is exciting news for me. I'm sign me up. Let's go. Yes. We're about a third of the way there. Isn't it amazing? We're learning so much in such these compressed amounts of time. I hope I'm giving you all, the judges here, enough time in between. Trying to, okay, wonderful, wonderful. All right. Our next student is Sophia Lee with A Leap of Faith and Dual Diagnosis.
Woo!
Are you familiar with the phrase, taking a leap of faith? It's when you do something even though you're not sure you'll succeed. What if I told you teenagers with dual diagnosis, a developmental disorder and a mental health issue, aging out of youth mental health services, take a leap of faith into adulthood and trust that adult mental health care will help them succeed? But why is healthcare a leap of faith? The complexity of dual diagnosis stems from the co-occurring conditions which vary in presentation and severity for each person. This complexity needs collaboration between healthcare providers and services which aren't always available or accessible. For my thesis, I want to understand this experience to pinpoint where the obstacles truly lie and bridge the gap using the Bridges transition theory. This theory starts in the endings phase, where an individual acknowledges and comes to terms with what they're leaving behind. Then they move into the neutral zone, and this is where things feel uncertain and shaky because they're caught in between the old and the new, figuring out new roles and perspectives and learning to adapt to the changes happening around them. Finally, they reach the new beginnings phase, and this is where they embrace change and move forward with a fresh outlook. The problem is that this structured framework isn't what is actually happening in real life. In my research, I asked the question, what is the experience of accessing mental health services among youth with dual diagnosis transitioning to adult mental health services? To answer this question, I'll be conducting in-depth interviews with transition-age dual diagnosis youth. This type of interview is a qualitative research method that gives participants the opportunity to tell the whole story of their experience. As I get to analyze these interviews, I hope to find narratives that illustrate the challenges those with dual diagnosis face, as well as moments of resilience and adaptation. To organize this data, I plan to use a method called thematic analysis. And thematic analysis is all about finding patterns in the data, turning them into meaningful themes to understand the bigger story. I start by analyzing the data, finding key points and turning them into codes, grouping these codes to form initial themes. Then I make sure my themes capture the essence of what's being said. Finally, I give my themes clear labels and I compare my results to the phases of the Bridges transition theory. By understanding these experiences, I aim to identify potential strategies for change, as well as strategies for advocating systemic improvements. Ultimately, this research isn't just about understanding the experiences. It's also about making a difference in the lives of individuals who often feel left out and misunderstood. It's about creating a future where everyone has access to the support and resources they need to thrive. So rather than taking a leap of faith and falling through the cracks of the healthcare system, let's build a bridge for better mental health care transitions.
Thank you, Sophia. You're showing us what a good metaphor can do for communicating a story, right? So we appreciate that. Wonderful. All right, next up, we have Imogen Bellinger with the effects of oxygen on thermal tolerance in fish.
Aquatic ecosystems are experiencing increasing temperatures and a high frequency of acute heat waves, both of which are harmful for fish populations. Despite this, mechanisms regulating thermal tolerance in fish are not fully understood. Fish are unable to internally regulate their temperature and are therefore at an even higher risk of these rising temperatures. So understanding mechanisms regulating thermal tolerance in fish is crucial in understanding how they're going to react to rising temperatures. In shallow aquatic environments, both temperature and oxygen are highly variable. An oxygen saturation above 100% can occur in conjunction with acute heat waves due to daily temperature cycles where midday temperatures peak and so does photosynthetic activity. This is thought to be able to provide refuge for fish from acute heat waves, because just like us, fish need to be able to uptake oxygen into their cells in order to reach their energetic demand. So in warm waters, this energetic demand is increased, and therefore fish need to uptake more oxygen. And so eventually they reach a limit where they are unable to uptake enough oxygen, and this is when they reach their thermal limits. And so this is supported by a leading theory in thermal biology, which states that as temperatures increase, a fish's oxygen demand increases as well, creating a mismatch in this increased oxygen demand and its ability to uptake oxygen. And so in theory, increased oxygen saturation in the water may improve a fish's thermal tolerance. So no studies have looked at the effects of high oxygen saturation on thermal tolerance in fish while swimming. And when fish are swimming, their oxygen demands are also increased. So this creates ideal conditions to test this theory. So the objectives of my study were to determine if increased oxygen saturation improves a fish's thermal tolerance at high swimming speeds, and to see if it improves a fish's oxygen uptake as well. So to do this, I determined the CT swim, or critical thermal maxima, of rainbow trout at high swimming speeds. And so CT swim is just a metric used to measure thermal tolerance in fish. And so these trials took place in swim tunnels like the one shown, where fish are sealed in a chamber and a current is circulated through the chamber for the fish to swim in. This acts sort of like a fish treadmill. And so each fish goes through 2 thermal tolerance trials, one at 100% oxygen saturation and one at 150% oxygen saturation. And throughout the trials, oxygen is increased, or temperature is increased by 1 degree Celsius every 30 minutes until the fish can no longer swim, and this is noted as its thermal tolerance. So after 270 hours of thermal tolerance trials, I found thermal tolerance in rainbow trout to increase by 0.66 degrees Celsius, which was found to be statistically significant. And this shows that increased oxygen saturation does improve a fish's thermal tolerance at high swimming speeds. I did not find a significant relationship between a fish's oxygen uptake and its being swum in increased oxygen saturation. So studies like this provide new information on how fish are going to react to increasing temperatures. This is crucial information in informing management decisions and protecting fish populations in the future. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Imogen. I'm going to use the CT, like what the tolerance, and when on the next fishing trip, and try to sound smart. But it'll hopefully distract from the fact that I'm not catching any fish. That's what I hope. Our next speaker is Anisa Rajpati. Her title, Land-Based Learning, Reimagining Environmental Education.
Thinking back to elementary school, many of us may have learned about the 3 R's of the environment: reduce, reuse, and recycle. I used to think about those 3 R's. But now when I think about the long-term care of the environment, I think about reciprocity, respect, and relationship. Reciprocity is the process of gathering knowledge and learning how to take care of the land that takes care of us. Respect is the practice of honoring the interconnectedness of all living beings in the natural world by applying the knowledge that we gain to the way we care for the environment. Relationship refers to our connection with the land, and our relationships strengthen when we spend time gathering knowledge, therefore creating a cycle of learning. My research focuses on the environmental education policy framework in the Ontario curriculum, with a specific focus on our responsibilities as educators and students. My research question seeks to understand how we can foster students' place-based relationships by reimagining environmental education through the lens of reciprocity and respect. I reimagined the outcomes of this curriculum as having a stronger focus on students' place-based relationships. Currently, this connection is lacking, and there's minimal emphasis on land-based learning and Indigenous land-based pedagogy, which means method of teaching. Indigenous research is exploratory, and it requires an approach that seeks to mutually benefit those involved. To address my research question, I engaged with 2 Indigenous research methods. First, I used land-based research. This involved dedicated time spent building a relationship with the environment. This was achieved by learning from and with the land, which is an important step given my position as a settler. The second method involved two-eyed seeing. This approach calls upon researchers to equally consider Indigenous and Western ways of knowing by incorporating both knowledge systems into their research. My initial findings indicate that the current policy framework uses an approach that is rooted in human-centered ideas. These are rooted in colonial ideas about the environment, whereas land-based learning is rooted in Indigenous land-based pedagogy, which prioritizes the needs of the land. This approach encourages reciprocal relationships with the land rather than viewing the land as a resource for us humans. A stronger focus on Indigenous land-based pedagogy could assist with cultural resurgence and revitalization through sharing knowledge and building those relationships. Reciprocity, respect, and relationship are the 3 R's that can support the long-term care of the environment by reimagining environmental education in Ontario. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anissa. That was great. I'll invite folks. There are still a few empty seats, so if you're looking for a chair, I welcome you to come up and have a chair if you wish, up in the stands. Unless you're happy standing, which is totally fine as well. Okay. Our next speaker is Risha Gupta, cardiac cachexia. Who really eats more? Thank you.
Heart failure is a leading cause for mortality and healthcare expenditures worldwide, with a whopping 960,000 new cases every single year. Cardiac cachexia is a severe, unintentional weight loss caused by heart failure, targeting muscle and fat, affecting about 40% of people diagnosed with heart failure worldwide. This unintentional severe weight loss causes muscle loss in muscle function, and just affecting your daily lives, such as doing things like groceries or even just walking down the hall. In fact, 29% of people diagnosed with heart failure are bedbound and with feeding tubes. We found in mice that males and females respond differently to cardiac cachexia. So you might ask, how do we test this? Well, we use a drug called monocrotaline, and we inject it into our rodent models. Monocrotaline, which I will be referring to as MCT going forward, induces heart failure in our patients, allowing us to study the symptoms of cardiac cachexia as well. In our previous years of research, we actually found that male mice injected with MCT gain less weight in comparison to our female MCT mice. But this is not accompanied by differences in the amount of muscle that they have. So, to understand these differences, we wanted to know whether these discrepancies in weight gain between females and males were due to the changes in the amount of food that they intaked. So, for a period of 8 weeks, we did an experiment. We injected our experimental mice with MCT and gave our control mice saline. We gave them food that was available at all times during the day, measuring their food intake at various lights on and lights off period, for the simple fact that mice are nocturnal feeders and eat mostly at night. Analyzing their food intake at various lights on and lights off period weekly allows us to know their drive to eat, short-term and long-term, which mine obviously just happens to always be going, as well as their feeling of fullness. I'm super eager to understand the role that monocrotaline has on food intake, understanding the relationship between cardiac cachexia, heart failure, food intake, and the differences among sexes. As we continue to grow our research, we understand that the male mice that injected with MCT eat less in comparison to our female mice. Now you might ask, how does this transfer over to humans? Well, it's a step forward to understanding clinical applications as well as symptoms that differ among females and males, as well as in cardiac cachexia and their symptoms. To see someone's life deteriorate in front of your eyes, from them being able to make you the most yummy meal in the kitchen and run a marathon to them not even being able to get out of bed is devastating. Being nutritionally aware might just save you or a loved one one day. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Risha. I'm thinking about mice. I'm thinking about cheese right now. Might be time for a snack. Soon enough, I promise. I promise, soon enough. We're more than halfway through, folks. It's amazing how quickly this moves, right? Yeah, okay. Our next speaker is Kylie Dennis with Implementation of Children's Right to Play. How are children redefining play for themselves?
Where was your favorite place to play as a child? Was it outside riding your bike or inside playing with cars? I can remember my favorite place like I was just there yesterday. But the reality is many children do not receive their right to play due to the lack of children's voices in defining what play is. Yes, play within childhood is actually a right, as articulated in the document called the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, which outlines the specific rights children have. Throughout the course of this year, I've been working on a fourth-year major research paper exploring two research questions. How is the right to play understood around the world, and how are children reimagining play for themselves? I have focused on qualitative scholarly articles that look to amplify children's voices through participatory methods. The research has been generated from around the world, including Canada, Ireland, Australia, and so many more, but they're all highlighting the concerning fact that children's right to play is not being upheld. One of the reasons that their right to play is not being upheld is that adults are viewing play as an opportunity rather than a right. As a result, children are engaging in less time during play, as many scholars have identified. And as a result, the right to play is often grouped with other rights, such as education. So, how do we fix the implementation of children's right to play? As adults, we must first start by listening to children's perspectives and understanding that their definitions of play are so much different than our definitions. The literature shows that children are actually defining play as having the freedom to make their own choices, but also having fun. Children create play environments where they're focused on naturally learning about the world and testing new ideas and theories. And through their play cultures, they're not focused on competition. Instead, they want continuous play cultures where they get to explore and they get to make decisions. As a result, children have learned to protect their definitions of play from those of adults because children don't believe that adult-instructed activities are play. The research really shows that children are the experts of play and we need to hear them. Overall, this research is essential to the current world as play comes from an interdisciplinary perspective which intersects with multiple disciplines and is not only restricted to child and youth studies. Therefore, we can use this research to adjust our understandings of childhood and play to ensure that they reflect the views of children. So, now knowing that play is a right and children do have a definition of play for themselves, how can we respect their views as coaches, educators, adults, and so many more who work with children and youth to help them initiate their right to play? Thank you. Oh, I totally forgot my slides.
Thanks so much, Kylie. It's tense up here, right? We new respect for our lecturers and classes, I hope. I think we need to definitely recognize that. Wonderful. Everyone's doing such a great job and so many different projects. This is why I love this event, because it's always just so amazing to see what you are all working on. So we are happy to now invite John Smith to the stage. His title, Dungeons, Dragons, and Neurodiversity, Fighting Demons for Friendship.
Tabletop games. Can I ask you to reflect for a moment and just think about why you enjoy playing games? Is it socializing, or perhaps you just enjoy winning? I confess, despite warnings during the Satanic Panic, I played Dungeons and Dragons. I like stories, and what follows is a story of opportunity, friendship, and perseverance. And the story starts with the Oshawa Dungeons and Dragons Club, a social group for neurodiverse youth ages 13 to 19. Neurodiversity is associated with difficulties in communication, and there's been a lot of social groups to do social training. However, neurodiversity is the primary indicator for being bullied and excluded by peers. So we train them some social skills, but they don't have social opportunities. The Dungeons and Dragons Club is about providing opportunities. Dungeons and Dragons requires communication and cooperation to achieve a common goal. And before the game starts, I ask the youth what they want and check in every few sessions. And this is called stars and wishes. And the wishes are what they want, and the stars are what they have enjoyed. And as you can see, the social aspects of the game are at the top of their list. Importantly, the game is youth-led. They choose what experiences they want to have. The program started in September and runs to June. This gives them time to make meaningful connections. Character creation allows them to choose what they want to role play. And here are AI representations of the characters that we created together. You can see creativity and imagination in the images that we came up with. Importantly, this is theirs. So research has shown that Dungeons and Dragons was successfully used to treat social anxiety and increase social connectedness. I'll finish by telling you about the Staff of Heroism. A participant would get anxious during battles, so I had his character find the Staff of Heroism, and it was a magical item that prevented his character from being afraid. I asked him to role play being brave, and after several game sessions of him role playing being brave, his character was challenged to a fight by a demon. A group of friends cheered him on as he fought and defeated the demon. He was a hero. Now think back to the reasons why you enjoy games. Have you ever had your own Staff of Heroism moment? I think all youth deserve to have a moment like this. And this group and the research is about providing more opportunities for neurodiverse youth. And I'm proud to announce that the city of Oshawa has officially adopted the program. And next year, neurodiverse youth will continue to fight demons for friendship. Thank you.
Thanks so much, John. That was fantastic. I think I need my Staff of Heroism every so often. I dig it. It's really great work. Our next speaker is Michael Caparold with magnetopriming, a potential tool for faster and better crop growth.
With climate change affecting our crops' abilities to withstand ever-worsening climate conditions and a continuously growing population demanding ever more food, now more than ever do we need to find new and sustainable solutions to mitigate these problems. One such solution that has been investigated is known as magnetopriming. The concept of magnetopriming is very simple. It involves taking a seed and placing it in a magnet to make it stronger before it's to be planted. Some of the reported benefits of magnetopriming include increased resistance to harsh environmental conditions, such as damaging UV radiation, drought, and salt stress. It has also been shown to increase the final height of the plant, the yield or the amount of food that's produced, and also decrease the time for the plant to grow. The benefit of magnetopriming over other agricultural techniques, such as fertilizers, is that it is cheap, sustainable, and environmentally friendly. Now, this may sound too good to be true, and this is exactly what we want to figure out. Could these results be replicated? Additionally, we also want to know if the hormone profile could provide any insight into what the magnet is actually doing to the seeds. So how do we do it? We first treat our seeds with a magnet for the same intensity and duration as the previous investigators. We then either plant our seeds in soil for the plant experiments, or place them in petri dishes with water for the seedling experiments. We let them grow for a specified period of time, and then we took our final measurements, assessed the plant activity, and then took a hormone profile of some of the leaves. So what do we expect to find? We expect to find that our plants will be larger, take a decreased amount of time to grow, and also have higher chlorophyll content. Additionally, we want to see higher biological activity, so a faster rate or a higher rate of photosynthesis. Finally, as the hormones are responsible for causing these changes, we would like to see higher levels in our magnetoprime plants. So what did we actually find? Nothing. In only one of the parameters that we analyzed have we seen a significant difference, which was the time for the seed to grow in our seedling experiments. These results heavily contradict what had been found by the previous investigators. Now, this could be seen as a disappointment, but our work shows the importance of trying to replicate others' findings to show reproducibility and validity, which is a common problem in the scientific community. Regardless, we need to continue to strive for innovation in the hopes of finding novel solutions to our modern problems for both us and our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. We're seeing how there's so much amazing lab work, field work, community work happening. And we're also getting the really important lessons of research. Doesn't always go the way you think it's going to go, right? And in life, don't we always want it to just go the way we planned? But that's part of the process too. We've got to accept it. So I think, some good life lessons, not just research lessons happening here tonight. So I appreciate that. All right. Our next speaker is Haley Grieve with The Secret Nightlife of Salamanders, the factors impacting nocturnal salamander foraging patterns.
Salamanders are a vital part of our wetland ecosystem. They help provide food to hundreds of different species, and they help to control our pest populations. By the end of my presentation, I hope that all of you can confidently leave here knowing what salamanders are and a little bit more about their secret nightlife. I'd like to introduce you to the eastern redback salamander and the blue-spotted salamander. Some key differences between these amphibians are that blue spots grow to be larger and travel on larger foraging ranges on average. Both these species, however, live in the same habitat and look for similar food types such as worms, beetles, and mites. So, if these guys live in the same habitats and look for the same foods, then how can they coexist without outcompeting the other? My thesis asks if these salamanders forage in different ranges or forage for different food types to reduce their competition, thus allowing them to coexist. But to determine which food types they're eating, we first had to figure out where they were going. But how do you track something so small that forages in the dark? By gently coating these salamanders in a harmless UV powder before dark, we could come back the morning after and see the footprints leaving a range of where they foraged. Then within these ranges, we can compare the size of them between species and then take soil and leaf samples like this one to compare the food available within these ranges. Then, to extract this food, we could put them in Burley's funnels and apply light and heat, forcing all the invertebrates out the bottom. And then we could use this data to compare the differences in food available within the ranges of both species and also compare it to the ranges that they didn't forage. So after conducting some statistical analyses, what did we find? We found that the redback salamanders were foraging in smaller range size than our blue spots, and also the size of our redback salamanders did not contribute to the size of their foraging ranges, nor did the food available within those ranges. This suggests that they're probably eating whatever they can fit in their mouths, at least at the 5-meter scale that we approached. For our blue spots, we found that they were foraging in larger ranges than the redbacks, and we also found that larger blue spots were foraging in larger activity ranges. But most importantly, we found that our blue-spotted salamanders were selecting ranges that had more beetle larvae and orbited mites. Perhaps blue spots are foraging within these ranges for these food types to reduce food competition with their redback neighbors, thus providing some support to explaining how these species can continue to coexist despite their many similarities. I wanted to say thank you to Trent, my supervisors, and to all the lovely volunteers that helped me collect the data in this project. And I hope today you learned a little bit more about the wonderful and hidden nightlife of salamanders.
There's some joy in those faces, right? Yeah. Thank you, Haley. I learned about salamanders and how research is a group effort. Our next speaker is Samantha Cottle with Extending Life in the Common Water Flea.
To age is a privilege, but to be old and to experience fragility, frailty, and vulnerability to death and disease is an often painful consequence of living long. Every single one of us is going to inevitably experience the progressive decline in the function of our cellular processes across the entirety of our biological makeup. And this aging process is driven by key proteins in the cell that drive the cell to grow and eventually die. But what if a drug, rapamycin, could restore longevity and prolong lifespan, not only by delaying the aging process altogether, but by manipulating these key proteins that are responsible for it? Well, as straightforward as it would be to recruit a bunch of people into a clinical study, inject them all with rapamycin and see how long they live, that's not the most ethical or effective way to produce results. We need to start small, like a flea, specifically a water flea. In the case of this study, Daphnia pulex. But you might be thinking, why Daphnia and not mice or some other organism? Well, Daphnia are the invertebrate organisms with the genome most similar to that of us. And in addition, they have a short lifespan, larger brood sizes, as well as a simple and transparent body plan that makes physical changes easy to visualize. So it's quite underrated. And in addition, the effect of rapamycin on Daphnia lifespan is a topic that's not very well explored in the field of aging biology. So then, how do we explore this? We conduct 3 separate experiments on large treatment groups of Daphnia subject to various doses of rapamycin, where we measure survivability, which is depicted as the amount of animals remaining alive throughout the experiment, metabolic function, where we measure heart rate and respiration rate, and see how these factors are affected by aging, as well as whether rapamycin alleviates this, and finally, measuring levels of our key aging proteins in a lab experiment that measures protein levels in tissue samples. For survivability, it was found that Daphnia treated with moderate doses of rapamycin lived up to 30% longer than the control group. For metabolic function, it was hard to see any real significant impacts of rapamycin on heart rate and respiration rate, but whether this is an actual impact of the drug is still to be determined, since we saw it decline a little bit with higher doses. And finally, for our key protein levels, what we expect to see is that these proteins will decline in animals treated with moderate doses, indicating that aging has been slowed. So why does all of this matter? Well, at the end of the day, not only could an experiment such as this be scaled up and applied clinically one day, but it could also potentially pose as a therapeutic treatment to delay the onset of age-related diseases such as Alzheimer's, macular degeneration, along with other diseases, and potentially even better quality of life altogether. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Water flea, who knew? Right? Yeah, I didn't. Our next speaker is Naja Malik, Trash to Treasure, E-Waste to Smart Energy Solutions.
Imagine camping in Algonquin Park in a tent that looks like this, equipped with flexible solar cells. How about walking to school in a backpack, charging your laptop in a backpack that looks like this, strapped with flexible solar cells. Today we have energy solutions. Over the past few years, traditional forms of energy, such as fossil fuels, have declined due to serious environmental problems. And this has created a soaring demand for innovative and sustainable energy solutions. My name is Naja Malik, and I'm studying chemistry, biochemistry, and physics. I came to school to create solutions, but all I encountered were problems. Inexpensive and inaccessible resources to create these energy solutions, and a soaring accumulation of electronic waste as battery and EV technologies slowly become the new norm. What if I can work on one problem using another problem? Nickel is often used in battery technologies due to its large energy storage capacity, and nickel waste is predicted to increase exponentially as battery and EV technologies slowly become the new norm. Currently, less than 20% of nickel from electronic waste is extracted and reused. I worked with nickel during my summer research, and I know one property nickel loves is color. I was making nickel organic lattice structures with nickel purchased from a manufacturer. I was simultaneously doing electrochemistry using nickel foam that I washed with hydrochloric acid. The waste solution always turned blue-green. I decided to use this solution in my synthesis. I put it in the oven and went home. The next morning, my predicted structure was not formed, although this bright blue product was. And this product changed color with temperature, meaning that electrons were moving reversibly as a function of temperature, and that this finding was repeatable. This was a lattice structure. It was an inorganic halide perovskite, the key component in flexible solar cells. We need a paradigm shift where nickel sources to make renewable energy materials is routinely generated and extracted from electronic waste. My thesis is geared towards understanding the system that governs this reaction and demonstrate consistency and repeatability, and to create a method that is globally accessible so we can make these energy solutions using nickel waste. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Naja. The work they're doing is really complex, really challenging, but so is coming up here and talking, right? So I think everyone, no, we're not seeing you sweat. You're really impressing me. I'm going to be out of a job at some point, I think. So thank you all. We're getting to the last few speakers now, amazingly enough. Our next speaker is Anna Endlicher. May the forest be with you, youth, implementing forest school in the lives of autistic children.
I'm sure we've all heard someone tell us, go get some fresh air. It's really good for you. Well, I'd like to introduce you to the idea of forest school. And from my experience working in this field, I can tell you it's not a school replacement and it's not an all-day recess program. It's a nature-based, child-centered form of education that takes place regularly in the same outdoor space. It's tailored to children's interests and can be led by trained educators in a special location, or it can be done on a smaller scale. Much of the research is based on the positive things educators and parents have noticed in their children, like better communication skills and improved mental health. When we look at autism, many autistic kids struggle with these aspects. Some children may not understand specific social cues, they may be sensitive to textures and sounds, or they may have trouble expressing their needs. But with the right tools and support, autistic children can have a very successful life. I read the latest research on forest school to find out if it could be used as a tool to give autistic children a new opportunity to learn. My goal for this literature review was to answer the following questions.
To what extent is Forest School an effective learning tool for children with autism? And how do autistic children describe their experiences at Forest School? When looking through the research, most of it has only emerged within the last 20 years, making it a fairly new field of study. So I knew that finding papers that were qualitative, which included their voices and autistic children, I knew it wasn't going to be very easy. But what I did find was that children with autism who attended Forest School showed lower levels of anxiety, made more connections with friends, and were more engaged in the daily activities. A 2023 study from Brock U centered the voices of autistic children, and they revealed some incredible stories. Children who were frustrated from learning in regular classrooms said that being immersed in nature helped them better understand their surroundings and made the learning more meaningful for them. Overall, the research is flooded with the benefits of Forest School: improved self-esteem, leadership, cooperation, safe risk assessment, new friendships, and so much more. Using outdoor play is an accessible form of education to all children, and it gives them endless opportunities to explore their specific interests. Forest School also increases children's self-awareness, and they feel more engaged with the learning and more connected to their environment because they've made meaning and connection to it. From my research, children with autism showed the greatest improvements in their well-being and development compared to generalized groups of children. From what they've told us, autistic children agree that Forest School has made a positive impact in their lives, making this a growing form of inclusive learning for children who need an environment as unique as they are. With that, I guess it's true. Fresh air really is good for you.
Thanks so much, Anna. What a great project. Makes me want to get out in the woods right now. We don't have to finish, right? We could just go, yeah? That would not be fair to our last two speakers. So we'll let them wrap it up first, and then we'll go outside and play. Our next speaker is Lindsay Coulis. Empathy in Action, Integrating a Trauma-Informed Approach in International Health Promotion Nursing Placements.
One case every 28 hours. That is how often a woman experienced a violent death in Honduras in 2022. Staggering statistics such as this has led to my interest in the traumatic impacts of intimate partner violence and femicide in Honduras. Biannually, second-year Trent University nursing students have the opportunity to complete their community health placement internationally. For this talk, I'll be focusing on the experience in Honduras. This experience works in partnership with Honduran organizations such as Razorine, a high school for young women. At Razorine, these young women not only complete their high school education, but workforce training, human rights development, and access to health services. Nursing students develop a health promotion or educational project to be presented in country on topics chosen by Razorine. Examples include family planning, cervical cancer prevention, infection control, and nutrition. I was one of these students in February of 2022. As healthcare providers grow aware of trauma's impacts, they're realizing the value of trauma-informed approaches to care. Given the prevalence of intimate partner violence in Honduras, strategies were needed to ensure nursing students are delivering this information effectively and to ensure a culturally safe approach. First, a scoping review identified the prevalence of intimate partner violence in Honduras and a gap in how to ensure health promotional education comes from a trauma-informed care lens. Next was a crucial aspect of improving the preparedness of nursing students by providing them with trauma-informed care education prior to their departure to Honduras. Therefore, and most importantly, my thesis focuses on the creation of trauma-informed care education modules specific to the international population health placement for future use. In the future, the hope is to incorporate a pre-test and post-test to determine the effectiveness of these modules and allow the students an opportunity to reflect on their newfound knowledge. From a quality improvement perspective, These training modules can influence the School of Nursing's curriculum to better equip future healthcare providers with the knowledge and skills needed to provide safer care for survivors of trauma. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lindsay, bringing international research to us. That's wonderful. And it's not easy being the folks that had to wait till the very end. You got to hear all of your fantastic colleagues, but perhaps you were working the script through your mind. We have our last speaker now. Amazingly, we've got there already. I'm not sure how. Her name is Azra Idrish Patel. The title, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, the Internalization of Body Ideal Discrepancies and Coping.
Every day, we are confronted with the ideal body image. From social media to movies and even family, we are constantly reminded of how we should look. Many people experience body ideal discrepancy, which is the gap between a person's actual body and the ideal body. Unfortunately, the ideal body can be difficult, if not impossible to achieve, leaving many people feeling dissatisfied with their actual body and leading them to unhealthy coping strategies such as maladaptive appearance fixing. For instance, a recent survey revealed that among Canadian individuals, 2/3 reported fixing their bodies through extreme dieting, excessive exercise, or even cosmetic surgery. These are alarming trends. But the good news is that not everyone adopts such maladaptive appearance fixing strategies. So the question then becomes, who is at most risk of developing such maladaptive coping? One important factor to consider is the internalization or the importance you give to the ideal body image. Think, for example, how important to you is your ideal weight? When individuals internalize or give importance to the ideal body image, they may have a higher likelihood of engaging in unhealthy coping strategies, as they may see these unrealistic standards as personally meaningful benchmarks they need to meet. So my research is examining the relationship between body ideal discrepancy and coping strategies and how internalization influences this relationship. I invited Trent undergraduate students to participate on questionnaires about body ideal discrepancy and internalization, as well as coping strategies. And my preliminary findings revealed that body ideal discrepancy explains 31% of the variance in maladaptive appearance fixing. However, as predicted, when the internalization of the ideal body image is included, the explained variance is increased to nearly 40%. This means that rather than body ideal discrepancy alone, the internalization of the ideal body image influences individuals' tendencies to adopt unhealthy coping strategies. My research could potentially shape how we approach body image issues. If psychological interventions would approach it in an aim to reduce the internalization of the ideal body image, it could be key in helping individuals develop healthier coping strategies, as well as ultimately improve the satisfaction that they have with their actual body. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Azra. All of these participants have been so amazing. I think that they have taught us so much. In fact, at 180 seconds each, give or take, they just taught us 19 new ideas in 3,420 seconds, about 57 minutes, give or take. So let's give all of the participants another round of applause. You're all so impressive, and your work is demonstrative of the value and the breadth of Trent's undergraduate research programs. So we're all so proud of you. You did it. I talked with so many of you as you were preparing, and I was so happy to see you all out here just doing your thing. It was fantastic. Not an easy task for you folks. We really appreciate your work. To the audience, you have the opportunity now to have your say and offer your vote for your. Welcome back, folks. Thank you for your patience. We're really humbled by the turnout this evening. As you might have guessed, we didn't expect this many people to show up tonight. So we are so grateful you could all be here. We hope you had a wonderful talk with some of the presenters in the gathering space. Maybe you shared your favorite moments or asked a question about their topic and learned a little bit more. While you were doing that, we were counting some ballots and tallying all the scores. And now we're ready to announce the prize winners for tonight's competition. We're really grateful. Yeah, exactly. You're all winners. You know, I hope you know that, right? You are all winners in our hearts. But I'll first invite our first prize presenter to the stage. Marilyn Burns, the VP Enrollment of Communications, will present the first two prizes of the evening. First, the Office of the President Audience Choice Award.
Thank you so much. That was great. Erin, did I ever tell you what a great presenter you are? I think a round of applause for Erin, maybe. You've been doing an amazing job tonight. And I don't know if anybody noticed when they were looking at the screens of our fabulous presenters tonight, but what you might have seen up there is we note the campus and we also note the college. And the colleges and the campus have attracted a number of esteemed individuals, everyone from academic skills and advisors to some of our deans and associate deans and professors. And that's testimony to the Trent experience here. This is what Trent is about, everyone coming out to support their students. So I wanted to say to the students, you have been exceptional tonight. And I just wanted to congratulate you on the academic rigor, the enthusiastic delivery, the exceptional attention to brevity, which is one of my favorite things, your ability to boil down these really complex and delightfully puzzling ideas for us as a general audience has really been leaving us, I think, quite awestruck from what I heard at the break as everybody walked around tonight. So thank you for all that you did. We are really celebrating academic research, but also something that's close to my heart, communication tonight. I know you're eager to find out who the winners are, so I'm not going to belabor this any further. I am going to give out two awards tonight on behalf of the President's Office, and they are pretty exciting. One of them is the award that won our hearts, perhaps, in terms of giving us captivation and enlightenment and engagement at a level that made us all vote for it. So I'm delighted to share, for those of you who love games, from Durham, GTA campus, John Smith, for Dungeons, Dragons, and Neurodiversity, Fighting Demons for Friendship. Excellent. Congratulations. Probably all the winners will be happy not to speak again, but John, seriously, that was an exciting, very, very exciting presentation tonight. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about that initiative in Oshawa, where we have our campus and great community connections. So the second award on behalf of the Office of the President is the Best Visual Aid Award. And this recognizes outstanding creativity and effectiveness in visual presentation. And as you may know, our president is a fan of visual argumentation as a philosopher. So I know he is sorry not to be here tonight to present that to Haley Grieve. And if you don't recall, Haley Grebe was The Secret Life of Salamanders, the factors impacting nocturnal foraging patterns, not partners.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. Congratulations, John and Haley. Next, I'd like to invite Bethan Bates, the managing editor of the Journal of Undergraduate Studies at Trent, to present the Social Justice Prize, which is awarded to a high-scoring presentation on a social justice issue.
Thank you everyone for being here tonight and for having the journal. And I am very excited to present the Social Justice Prize to John Smith for Dungeons, Dragons and Neurodiversity. Congratulations.
Thank you, Bethan. Congratulations again, John. Next, I'd like to invite Fergal O'Hagan, Associate Dean, Teaching and Learning, to present the second runner-up prize, which is sponsored by the Center for Teaching and Learning.
Thanks, Erin. And I'd just like to congratulate all of you. You're so brave for stepping up here. On behalf of the Center for Teaching and Learning, I'm going to present the second runner-up prize awarded to the presenter who received the third highest overall total. And this is awarded to Anissa Rajpati. Sosky College, her talk on land-based learning, reimagining environmental education. Congratulations.
Thank you, Fergal. Congratulations, Anissa. That was a fitting connection, I think, between the award and the sponsor, actually, the topic of the talk. Next up, we have Babin Joy, Alumni Engagement and Services Coordinator, who will be presenting our first runner-up prize, sponsored by Alumni Engagement and Services.
It was inspiring and such a learning experience for me. So thanks for all the students and congratulations. Very thrilled to have you all as future alumni. So very thrilled to give away this prize. On behalf of Alumni Engagement Services, I would thrilled to give away the first runner-up prize to Haley Grebe, The Secret Lives of the Salamanders, the factors impacting nocturnal salamander foraging patterns.
Thank you, Babin. Congratulations, Haley. You'll be seeing Babin, all of you folks graduating this year at convocations, certainly, and you'll be hearing from him as well. All right. You know, we could continue to kind of push on and make you wait longer, but I think, you know, the night's getting a little long, right? Finally, we've all been waiting to learn the winner of the overall prize, which is sponsored by the Office of Research and Innovation. And I will invite Dr. Michael Kahn back to the podium to present this award.
Well, what a fantastic night that has been. Congratulations again to all our students. And again, a special thank you to our judges. May we hear it for our judges, please. At the beginning of the night, I said that we encourage our students to think beyond, to think in different ways. And that's really what a Trent education is all about. But what was really striking tonight is through their presentations, they got all of us to think in different ways and to think beyond. And we truly thank you for that. And tonight's winner was exemplary in this regard. Tonight's winner, Samantha Caudle. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, Samantha. Again, I think you were all amazing. And I will tell you, the scores were some of the closest scores I've ever seen in all of my years doing this competition. So you were all amazing. You all worked so hard at a time when you got a few other things happening, maybe, right? A few papers, maybe some exams, nothing major at all. So I really want to express my gratitude to all of your work in putting together these engaging and informative talks. We know that it's, took a lot of work. We saw it out here today. And, we really appreciate the lessons you brought us today. And we hope you found this experience to be really gratifying and enlightening for yourselves. And we do hope that you'll all stay back for a group photo after as well, because you're now all in this team together. Okay. I want to thank the familiar faces out in the crowd and unfamiliar faces. But first, I wanted to say thanks to the faculty and staff who joined the event this evening to cheer on students they work with and supervise, to help shine this bright light on these bright minds. Really appreciate you being here. We're so thankful to have all of our award presenters and sponsors here tonight. We appreciate the time that you brought for this evening and the money. We appreciate the money. Huge gratitude, Emily, Kate, and Sarah, for offering your time and your careful thought for all of these talks. Really appreciate it. My colleagues from Academic Skills, and Stephanie Mueller-Toller from Autonomy College has wonderful thank you gifts for the three of you. Events like this take a huge team. So thank you to my colleagues from Academic Skills, from all the Autonomy student support staff who made sure that this evening ran so smoothly. Thank you to Dawn up in the booth, making sure all of us sounded and looked fantastic. Wonderful. My dream team, my 3MP dream team, Rachel, the Autonomy College admin assistant, and Stephanie, yes, our OC principal. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you all being here, bringing your enthusiasm, bringing your support. And we wish you well. We invite you to come back for more 3-minute action for the 3-minute thesis for graduate students, April 18th at Market Hall. Watch for the news on it. And we hope you have a safe travels home. Thank you so much.